Hello students, in this video we will try to understand problem number 1 of self-practice question under marginal costing. Let us just see what they have provided in this problem. Pfizer Limited manufactures and sells a product, the selling price and the raw material cost of which have remained unchanged during the past 2 years. The following are the relevant data. So they have given us the data for year 1 and year 2. They have provided us quantity sold in kgs, sales value, raw material, direct wages, factory overhead and profit. Now if you focus carefully, you will be realizing that they have not given us the data for year 2 regarding sales value, raw material and direct wages. During year 2, direct wage rate increased by 50%, but there was a saving of rupees 300 in fixed factory overheads. Required. What quantity in kgs the company should have produced and sold in year 2 in order to maintain the same amount of net profit per kg as it earned during year 1. Now the important thing to mark here is that they want you to maintain the same amount of net profit per kg. This is the important point. They do not want you to maintain the same amount of total net profit. They want you to maintain the same amount of net profit per kg. Moreover, there is a saving of rupees 300 which is available in the fixed factory overhead, and this saving is not available in the variable factory overheads. Now before proceeding towards the solution part, first of all we need to go for two working notes, where we will be trying to bifurcate the factory overhead which they have provided into variable and fixed portion. Once we are having the variable factory overhead and fixed factory overhead, there will be third working note where we will be trying to calculate the contribution per kg for year 2. So let us just go for the calculation. So here we are having working note number 1, talking about calculation of variable factory overhead per kg. First of all, we will be taking up the total factory overhead in year 2 which you have incurred. So you have incurred 5,700. Now there was a saving available in the fixed factory overhead, so that's the reason we'll be adding this 300. We need to understand the reason behind addition of this 300 is that the saving is pertaining to fixed factory overhead. This saving is not pertaining to the variable factory overhead. So if you are not adding this 300 and you are solving by using 5,700, then you are giving the idea that there was a saving in the variable fixed factory overhead. So we need to understand that the saving is not in the variable factory overhead, it is under the fixed factory overhead. So 5,700 plus 300, so it is 6,000. Now we'll be using the formula through which we can bifurcate the semi-variable cost into variable and fixed portion. The formula is change in the cost divided by change in units. That same formula we are having with variation, that is the variable factory overhead per kg equals to increase in factory overhead divided by increase in quantity. So we are having 6,000 which is the total factory overhead in year 2 minus 5,000 for year 1 divided by 150 kg of year 2 minus 100 kg of year 1. So we are having 1,000 divided by 50. So that is how we are having rupees 20 per kg, that is variable factory overhead. Now let us go for working note number 2 where we will be calculating fixed factory overhead. Now here we will be taking up the factory overhead which we have incurred. So for year 1 we have incurred 5,000, whereas for year 2 we have incurred 5,700. Let us just calculate the variable factory overhead. We are having the per kg. In year 1 we have produced 100 kg, so 20 into 100 kgs you are having 2,000, whereas in year 2 you have produced 150 kgs, so 20 into 150 kgs, so you are having 3,000. So 5,000 minus 2,000, 3,000 is the fixed factory overhead for year 1. 5,700 minus 3,000, so you are having 2,700, that is the fixed factory overhead for year 2. Now you can see that earlier it was 3000, now it is reduced by 300, and that is how we are having 2700. Now we are having working note number 1, through which we have calculated the variable factory overhead per kg, and working note number 2 where we are having 2700, which is the fixed factory overhead for year 2. Now through working note number 3 we will be calculating the contribution per unit for year 2. Now for that we require selling price per unit, we require raw material per unit, we require direct wages per unit, and we require variable factory overhead per unit. Now if we focus on the question, you will be realizing that they have not given us the sales value and the raw material and direct wages for year 2. But sales value and raw material, they are not changing. That is, the per kg sales value and per kg raw material are remaining constant, which is provided in the starting of the para. That means I can use the value of year 1 and year 1 for sales value and raw material in order to calculate the per unit for year 2. Whereas for the direct wages, there is an increase of 50%, which is over and above year 1. So for the calculation of year 2, I'll be taking year 1 as a base, and I'll be updating the figure whenever there is any kind of change in the cost. So let us go for the solution. In year 1, the total sales I was having was 20,000, and we have sold 100 kgs, so 200 per kg is the selling price, whereas the total raw material cost was 100, that is 10,000 divided by 100 kgs, so that is how you are having 100 per unit, that is the raw material. Direct wages total 3000 divided by 100 kgs, so that is how you are having 30. But we need to understand that this 30 is getting increased by 50%, so into 150 percentage, so that is how you are having 45. Variable factory overhead you have already calculated, that is 20. This is available from working note number 1. So let us just calculate the contribution. So contribution is 200 minus 100 minus 45 minus 20. So that is how you are having the contribution of year 2, that is rupees 35. Now in solution, they require that the net profit of year 1 should remain same for year 2. So for year 1, the total net profit was 2000. If I divide it by 100 kgs, so per kg profit is 20. Now they want you to maintain this 20 per kg in year 2 also, and the revised fixed cost for year 2 is 2700. Now from the total 35 contribution which I am having, from that 20 rupees I will allocate towards the profit. So the balance, that is 35 minus 20, that is rupees 15, will be utilized to recover the fixed cost of rupees 2700. So what are the number of units we are supposed to sell in order to recover this 2700 and to have the net profit per kg of 20? So it is 2700 divided by 15, which gives us 180 kgs. So we need to understand that the total 35 contribution per kg, from that 20 we have allocated towards the profit which we required per kg, and the balance 15 per kg will be utilized in order to recover the fixed cost of 2700. That is how you will be having 180 kgs which you are supposed to produce and sell, so that rupees 20 per kg you can have as the desired net profit. Thank you.